So hello,
Hello, Philip.
hello Liane. I would like to welcome you in Prague.
Thank you very much.
Thank you that you are willing to make interview
Yeah.
about body psychotherapy and you in body psychotherapy.
Thank you.
So I think we could start to recall something from the past. If you can remember, how was your journey to body psychotherapy? How did you get to body psychotherapy? Somewhere in the past, many years ago?
Many years ago, in the 70s, I started in body psychotherapy, and the history is fantastic because it was through psychoanalysis. Was a teacher that I had in psychoanalysis from Argentina, and he came from New York when he met Liane.
Mm-hmm.
And he came and he did exercise, grounding, and I was, wow, what is this, you know? And then he said, there is a man in New York that you will love, and it's Alexander Liane. And then it was through psychoanalysis that I started in body psychotherapy in the 70s.
Okay, so the psychoanalyst brought you to the body psychotherapy.
Yeah, can you imagine this?
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And then I went to New York to meet Dr. Liane, and I did my training with him in New York.
So that was the really first contact with body psychotherapy.
Yes,
In these
yes.
exercises. And it was
Yes.
some kind of seminar.
There was some kind of
Workshop?
seminar in psychoanalysis. Huh? It was workshop in psychoanalysis. We were studying, I guess, psychopathology, something like this. And he started to bring some exercise. And I said, wow, what is this, you know? Because we used to sit and be very rigid. Suddenly, we stand up and do the grounding. And this I was very curious about, you know. But I was training psychodrama before. I had psychodrama already.
Okay. And does that mean also that you went through some psychoanalytical training?
Yes. My
Okay,
first
of course.
training was psychoanalysis. The most rigid psychoanalysis. 5 days a week, you have to go there in therapy, you know. And then after this, I did the training of psychodrama, because psychoanalysis was not so much anymore interesting for me. I'm a very curious woman. So
And where did that take place? You are from Brazil?
I'm from Brazil. This was in São Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
Yeah. And then after São Paulo, I belonged to this Argentinian group in Bahia, northeast of Brazil. Yeah, in the northeast.
Right.
And my teachers, they were from Argentina, not from Brazil. Yeah.
So, and then you went to New York to meet Liane?
Yes. Then I felt bioenergetic very attractive for myself, you know. I met Liane, he was young, and I
What was his age at that
I
time?
guess was 62, 63, you know.
He was 62.
Yeah, he was very young. Yeah. And he was full of energy, you know. And then we started to increase, to come with the body and to put the body and the mind together. For me, it was really something completely different, and I was astonished, you know. This is possible. Because I felt in psychoanalysis that we stay so much lying, and there was a silence sometimes, you know. And then it was like to become alive when I put the body together in psychotherapy. Yeah. And Liane was really, because bioenergetic was creating in the 50s, yeah? So it was just in the middle of the process that he was completely connected with character structure, body reading, exercise, you know. I think he didn't know so much about also what is bioenergetic. He was creating everything, so it was a very good period in life.
So So it sounds maybe that he was still very open because he was in the process of creating bioenergetic.
Creation of bioenergetic. He started in the 40s, 50s with Pirracos, with Jean Pirracos, yes, and then they split. But he was, each workshop that we had, he brought something new, you know, like he was really experiencing creating theory, yeah. But the theory of bioenergetics comes from Freud. Mainly, the theoretical part is from Freud. So for me it was very easy. Yeah.
So I'm curious, how was your first impression of Lowen when you saw him somewhere at the workshop in New York? What was your impression, if you remember?
Well, the impression was, well, this man is alive. This man has body, you know. He can vibrate, he can like make you to love your body, you know. And this for me was very impressive. Like say really, he believes so much in bioenergetic and the exercise that you look at him and he was very good health, I don't know, good shape, you know, and then you say, wow, I want to do this, really I want. And the first time I did the exercise, because in bioenergetic in New York, they have institute, they had an institute. You could pay like $10 and you go there in the morning and you have only exercise class. And you learn and you express and you make grounding, shouting and scream and cry, but only bioenergetic exercise without the psychotherapy. And this was very interesting, you know, for me. Then it was really amazing.
So you attended these.
I attended this
bodywork
exercise
classes.
Exercise class, they called it. Yeah.
So you went there in the morning.
You could there
before the day started.
Pay very low price, you know, and the people from the institute, they come and they give the exercise class. And then I started to think, wow, really was moving a lot on myself, you know.
So and then it took you.
Yeah, yes. Right away, you know, I said, well, I want to go from here and to integrate, because bioenergetics is a question of psychoanalysis, character analysis, and exercise. And that for me was very good, because at that moment they have other kinds of body psychotherapy, but it was for me like disconnect of psychoanalysis, you know. Then it could be far away from what I believe, you know, and bioenergetics is not.
So already at the beginning you had this insight in you, connection of psychoanalysis and bioenergetic bodywork.
Yes.
And it was at the beginning already.
Yes.
Together.
There, you know.
Was there some other moment, important person, workshop, something that took you even more into body psychotherapy?
Then I did a workshop with Lowen about narcissism, about his book. It was the moment that his books came out. And then also was a special moment for me because I love this book, Narcissism. And it was like, wow, he thinks about narcissism like a devil. Like you have a devil, you're a special kid, and you have a devil inside. And this also for me was interesting, you know. Every time that I was with Lowen, he caught me like something in my body, my own experience. Something was transformed also in myself. Not only because I wanted to be the body psychotherapist. I always look for that makes sense for myself too, for my life, you know. And then I was changing a lot. I started to vibrate, I started to understand that I have a body, you know. And it's, of course, in the first moment it was very concrete. Oh, you have a body, this is a body. I said, well, it's not so concrete. But then when the psychoanalysis and everything appears, much better for me.
So the
It
way
was a transformation of my life.
Oh yeah, I understand. It was very personal.
Yeah, it was very personal too, yeah.
Do you remember then when did you start to do body psychotherapy in practice? What were your beginnings with body psychotherapy practice?
Yes, I remember.
Can you say something about
Yes. In the 81, I went to the Congress, the first Congress of Bioenergetics in Mexico. And then was really the first training I did in bioenergetics, because before was therapy and some workshops here and there. And then I went to Mexico, 81. From this on, I started to have my practice of and call myself, and in Brazil tell for everybody I'm about psychotherapy. But then I was away from bioenergetics. I was not only in bioenergetics. I created my own institute in São Paulo, in my city. And the name of my institute was Agora, Studies Neo Heiken. And I had 1,000 students at that moment, you know. And then I did a combination of Freud, bioenergetic, other kinds of psychotherapy. 2 years later, I guess, I met David Bordella. And then I started my training with David in Brazil. He came to Brazil. And then I started to do the training in Brazil. And then I started to make the combination of psychoanalysis, character analysis, bioenergetic, and bioscience.
It sounds
in
like
my
some kind of integration already.
Yes. Then we had, and then I had also my partner. She was from biodynamic and Kellerman. So we had like everything, you know. But what I want to say in my institute, that I created this body integration, I need to explain that in Brazil we were in the dictator, and just after the open of our country, I read Reich, and he was very political. And then I was very interested. It was the big moment of opening, you know, in our political situation. So Reich was very, very important for me in social and political way, how to make, we are different. Also to fight with psychoanalysis, also, with the power of psychoanalysis. Now I remember, because it was a very political moment, you know, also to become body psychotherapy. It was not only because, it's beautiful. I think this is important because not everybody did this, you know, like to really believe that body psychotherapy transform you in a political way also. That we could speak more freely with sexuality, and more freedom on this, and this was, we believe, we were very young, in transformation of society, you know. Not only, I never want to be a psychotherapist only to have one client. For me it was really important to transform the world, something like this, you know. And body psychotherapy was really in this moment of my life.
So it has its political level for you.
Yes, it was.
And how was the body psychotherapy accepted in Brazilian psychotherapeutic?
Oh, not so well.
Not so well?
No, because he was very Heishi, how we say, Heishi? He was very, political, and everybody was against him, all over the world. And in the moment that he came with the orgastic curve and the function of the orgasm, he was very badly interpreted. He was not accepted, because was a revolution. But the hippie movement just connect with this movement of sexuality, you know, opening of sexuality, open of political situation. Everything was a combination, boom, like a bomb. So it was not so well in the first moment. And also Brazil, we have to be psychoanalysts. This is very important, you know, not be like body workers.
It was something not so, how to say, not so shiny to be body psychotherapist.
Yeah, what was not so intellectual, something like this.
But it was also that free spirit in that.
Yes, and I think it was very revolutionary in Brazil. Yes, I think so. You know.
Do you remember some of your first sessions with some Brazilian clients?
Yes, but I remember before when we were in the bomb of being body psychotherapist, we did a conference in Brazil, and was in Rio de Janeiro. And that moment, we have 4,000 people there. And it was like, you know, how many body psychotherapists here, how much people we had, was like, wow, now we start a big movement, you know. Then I went back to São Paulo. This was in Rio de Janeiro. And wow, I remember my first client was a woman. And she was completely out of the body. I was much more connected with expression exercise, you know, much more. I think in the beginning the clients feel somehow strange to these techniques, you know, but they accept it and step by step.
I think now, because Liane was from the New York,
Yeah.
it's a very different kind of life, probably American
Yes.
way of life and then Brazilian way of life.
Yeah.
How was it possible to take it from one culture, let's say American, North American, to the Brazilian culture, which is completely different?
We are completely American. We are. Brazil is always looking for America, you know. In Brazil, we love Hamburg, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, jeans. I don't know. We have a very American culture, not European, you know. And this was like, well, this fits for the Brazilian personality, you know, for the country that you want to be full of vibration and full of life. Then when he came with all this exercise, very strong exercise, and express exercise, for us it was like a tournament, you know. It was not so different for us because we are used to we are very loud culture, you know. And then it was, yeah.
So that was more about beginning?
Yeah.
Then when you see your journey ahead, was there any or more turning points? Turning point, like something really changed, you already knew body psychotherapy, you were in that field, but then maybe some turning points when your direction really changed. Was there something like
I think the first turning point was rowing, bioenergetic. Then bioenergetic for me was too bodily. Everything was expressive. I was a little bit tired of these two, like only body. And then I met Bodella. And then biosynthesis was a turning point because biosynthesis is is a combination also with bio-spirituality. And this also, for me, that moment makes sense, you know. Not only strong expression, you have to kick, you have to say I hate you have to express yourself very strong. And I could put together some soft state, inner soul, you know, a very deep contact with the person, resonance. And that for me, that moment was like I could rest. And then David's very, very important for me. He was becoming more and more important than Liane.
How old was he at that time?
60 something also.
Also.
Yeah. Or 50 something. He's a little, he's younger than Lowen.
So they were both very important.
And very important schools in the world. One is very important in America, and David is a very important school here in Europe, you know, but they are completely different. Even though David Bodella made the first conference of bioenergetic here in Europe for Alexander Lowen. So he was the first who organized this. He brought Lowen here.
So they met?
They met. I was in Belgium in a conference, and the two was in the stage, you know, speaking together. Was very nice to see both, you know. But Lowen was a little bit like a narcissist person. He was very phallic, and he doesn't allow anybody to be different from him. So if you have something different, it's not good, because bioenergetics is the tool, is the technique who's going to heal the world, you know, like Reich, like with Reich said, you know. And Bodella was more in a quiet way, more European, and not saying that biosciences is going to heal the world, you know. He's more a research person, he's very more center. Lowen was like this. And then Lowen started to write books, 10 books, I don't know how many books he started to write.
But maybe the difference between Lowen and Bodella in their characters, let's say, it also is a difference between bioenergetics and biosynthesis, because many people know probably more bioenergetic. It's I would say more visible in the psychotherapeutic world, and biosynthesis not so much. When I open the book from, I don't know, some handbook of psychotherapy, probably more the bioenergetic will be there, and the
It's
other one
true,
not.
you know.
So it's more held back by
Not
Bodella.
only this, Lowen wrote 20 books, you know, was like very quickly, you know. And then everybody was reading bioenergetic, not only experience, it was like a boom also. And David wrote 2 books, only 2 books Bodella has. It's impossible, you know. He has an institute in Switzerland, it's not too big, and he's more quiet, really. He's more a man in research, you know, and he has only 2 books. Bioenergetic really is very popular. I have the 2 institutes in Brazil, yes. I have Institute of Bioenergetic, Institute of Bioscience, and I started to combine everything more and more. But when I have, in the beginning of the year, that I have to build the groups for the training, bioenergetic is full, in a minute, full of people, full of students, you know, through the internet, through everything. I don't need to say, look, I'm here, it's and bioscience, I have to work on this, you know, because not everybody knows, really,
It's interesting.
Bioenergetic is very popular.
Maybe in Czech Republic it's the other way.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Always maybe depends on some leading figure.
Yeah, maybe, yes.